Okay. What's going on, guys? It's RDAPdan here, and it is a couple of more seconds here before we kick off. What time is it? 6:57. So we'll give you guys a few minutes to get a few more people into the room that want to jump in and watch what we got going on tonight. We are going to have a guest speaker with us tonight, so I'll leave that for a surprise for a little bit for you guys, and we'll get to talk to somebody who actually just got sentenced yesterday and doesn't have to surrender for a minute. So we'll get to talk to her and find out what's going on while you guys are already in the room chatting it up without me. I feel like you don't even need me. Awesome. So we've got another minute. Hope you guys are having a awesome weekend or awesome weekend. It feels like the weekend for me. I'm exhausted. Don't forget, guys, if you do need assistance and you need some help with letters, and I'm trying to make it, again, you know, not all of you are able to afford the high pricing of what it costs for these things. And I do know how important it can be. And remember, even if you can't afford anything, you can still call up and get some information and some tips. But don't forget, for this link that I'm putting into the chat room right now, if you fill out this link, I can find out if I can get you guys qualified for assistance. What time do we got? 6:58. And we've got how many people in the room? We got 8 people in the room, so I guess we can go ahead and get started. Well, welcome. Here we are, another night. You guys are all doing awesome. I spoke to Todd. Todd's in Palm Beach County. Right now, he's over there hanging out by the beach, just kind of relaxing, clearing out his mind. And, you know, we all got to pray for Todd. Hey, Mike. So we all got to put our prayers in for Todd and wish him some awesome luck tomorrow and put out some great energy. You know, and I figured because of that, it'd be great to have our topic kind of on that. You know, should you be afraid or should you fear, you know, a federal judge at sentencing? And I've been talking to a lady named Gwen for probably on and off a couple of weeks. I haven't heard from her in a while. She reached out to me a couple of weeks ago, maybe a month ago or so. And then she just reached out to me again just the other day. Might have been yesterday. She was just sentenced yesterday to 28 months. I don't think she does not know where she's going yet. And one of the first things that she commented on after watching these videos was how the judge does not want to hear how you're glorifying your life and all of these things that you've done so good, which is what we try to talk to you guys a lot about in these videos. Specifically, we try to explain that you've got to really go in front of this judge and get him to understand that you're accepting responsibility and you're not looking for him to feel pity for you. So what I would like to do now is I would like to introduce a young lady. Her name is Gwen. She's been going through this for a while. She's going to kind of talk to you guys a little bit about what she got in trouble for, where her mind frame was while she was going through this, how she felt the minute she got in trouble. A lot of the same questions that you guys have. And the cool thing is you guys get to talk to somebody that was just sentenced yesterday. It's very fresh in her mind, and she can tell you exactly what she wishes she had done different, what she thinks that went well. And hopefully you guys are taking mental notes on all of this. And for those of you that don't get to check this live, this will be recorded for later, so you'll have the opportunity to watch it later. So with that said, I would like to welcome Gwen. Gwen, how are you doing, Gwen?
Much better than I was yesterday morning. So I guess I'll just kind of start out and tell you from the beginning. In January of 2012, the FBI came in and raided the business I worked for. It was a hospice company. I was not there that day when they came in. Told about it. Went in the next day. Was told I need to go meet with attorneys. And let me kind of back up. I was second in charge, basically. The hospice company and myself were co-administrators. The owner, so we were the top two. This was probably one of the largest hospice companies in Illinois. So when all this went down, I had no idea what to do, never had any legal issues, didn't know how to respond, how to react. Within a week, I was meeting with an attorney for the first time. Didn't know what to say to him. Said, I don't know what's going on. I didn't do anything. I knew one of the things the concern was on them, that documents had been falsified, but I knew that I didn't falsify any. So I didn't feel I did anything wrong. And that's kind of how I went into it, with that mindset. So that was in January of 2012. In January of 2014, my co-administrator, they had an indictment on him. I met with the government, talked with them 1 or 2 times under a proffer. Again, I pretty much just told him I didn't know anything about the falsifying, but I told him other stuff I knew. The mistake with that was that I wasn't being truthful. So me and I believe 4 other people, they had an indictment on. All of us went in, pled not guilty. Afternoon, after I pled not guilty and walked out with my attorney, I was scared to death. And I told him everything. Went and met with the FBI, the government, worked with them on this. So that was from 2014. In 2016, in front of the judge and pled guilty. We had gosh, I'm kind of nervous, sorry guys. What do you call that? The plea agreement. My initial plea agreement was for it was on 16 counts of healthcare fraud. My initial plea agreement was for 1 count against conspiracy against the United States. It had a 10-year maximum. My attorney went back in and met with the government. It was then revised to a 5-year maximum. Went in, did the plea agreement. That was in, I believe, maybe February and I just had my sentencing yesterday. Basically, honestly, 3 years, I lived in fear. I was afraid. I won't go into all of that now, but I'm sure a lot of things all of you guys felt. I didn't even know what to do. I felt like as it got closer to my sentencing date, I couldn't even I didn't want to do anything. I couldn't make plans. I was looking at 5 years, how it was going to go. The government said they were not going to adjust that. The government was recommending 5 years still because I had such a good plea agreement, or I guess, yeah, their offer went from 10 to 5. I can't even explain to you, and I'll kind of talk about how my sentencing went. But the minute I walked out of sentencing, my whole world, it was like the weight was lifted off of me. I wish I would have known that going into it. I wish I wouldn't have spent so much time worrying about it. And I wish I would have viewed it more as a positive thing. Going in front of the judge is a positive thing because that means there's an end. And that means the next step of whatever my sentence is, I know there'll be an end to that too. And I think that was one of my biggest fears, was saying, when is this going to end? And it ends the day you get sentenced. So if you can keep that in mind, I honestly look at it as a positive thing. I'm going in there. We already all know we did something wrong. We've admitted it. Hopefully we've all accepted it. And when you go in there, you got to view it as a positive thing. You're being truthful, you're being honest, and your life can finally start. So when I went in front of the judge, I had prepared a letter. I made mistakes. I did not constantly view this channel. Many reasons why, but that's for later. If I would have viewed the one from Saturday, I would have never went in with my letter. I had already done all the things that I'd seen Dan say on this channel. I prepared well. I did so many things ahead of time. And I sent awesome letters, had great character reference letters. But the letter I read to the judge, I again focused too much on personal, that I basically did what Dan said in the video Saturday. I was that snot-nosed person, wiping the snot, crying. I know the judge probably didn't understand half of what I said. Because of all the things I did ahead of time, that did help me. But even when I was reading my statement to him, every time I would look up, sometimes he was looking at me, sometimes he wasn't. I believe it was because, you know, he'd already heard it. One of my statements in there was, I chose not to have my children at my sentencing, even though they are me, because I didn't want them to have to hear the sentence in the courtroom. I wanted to do it as a family. And my attorney had me put in there to apologize to the judge that my kids weren't there. The judge's response back to me was, you don't have to apologize for your kids not being here. I personally, I can't remember exact wording, but basically it was that there's no need to bring kids into here. They're not the ones I'm sentencing. And putting them up there to say a bunch of things isn't beneficial. He actually viewed it, I think, as a negative. Because the reality is, why should he think about your kids and your family when you didn't think about those when you were committing the crime? So my letter really would have been more admitting what I did, talking more about what positive things I did and just reinforcing those to show that I was focusing on it. Maybe a little at the end that might have been, you know, more a little about the family and how I impacted them. I potentially, you know, want to be able to get back to them. I will say the things that the judge, and maybe Dan, I kind of explained it to you a little wrong. It was a lot, the judge was not wanting to hear any of the personal stuff, the boo-hooing about my family, or, you know, his view of a white-collar criminal is that, you know, we all have personal things in our life. And no matter how bad I think that the life, it doesn't matter. And I get that now. But he more wanted to hear the things that I had done. Something else, and I've already forgotten. Sorry. Not sure what I was leading on that. When the important things that he wanted to hear was, what had I done? What had I done right? The character reference letters, I cannot. He actually commented on those, how good they were, how much impact they had on him, just because of how they were written. Okay, Dan, I'm getting kind of nervous and lost here.
That's okay. No, you're doing fine, you know, and it's a lot to remember about what's going on with the whole situation. And clearly, you know, what you went through and going to sentencing, you know, I think what you're trying to tell everybody is you've got to either go in there completely understanding what you're walking into. And the whole reason why this video is titled, you know, should you fear the judge? You should not fear the judge. You should obviously respect where you're going, but having fear is going to prevent you from preparing yourself. And just like if you're going to go into a job interview, if you're going to be terrified and you're going to go in there and tremble, you know, you're not going to get the job because they're going to see that all over you. You need to have confidence, but not cocky confidence. So she said something that was real important that we talked about the other day, guys, is when you're getting up and you're reading your letter to the judge, or you're reading your speech, or you're making your statement, whatever it is, if you can't keep your shit together when you're doing that, if you're going to break down and start crying, even if it's natural and it's complete real coming out of you, real emotion, the judge is not going to see it for that. He's not going to care. He's just going to be thinking to himself, when is a sniffling person going to finish so I can go to lunch? If you want to have impact with the judge and you're good, like if you can't get up and say what you need to say without crying, it's better to not say anything at all. He's already got the letter. And if you're going to get up and make an impact statement to the judge, it should be different from what's going to be in your personal narrative. A lot of you that have children, You know, you're thinking, well, I'll bring my children and he's going to see my kids and my kids might get up and say something. And I'm hoping that this has an interaction with the judge to where he thinks, does he really want to sentence somebody with kids? Guys, I'm telling you, that will backfire because he's going to look at it as, or she's going to look at it as, you're using your kids as a shield. And that is not going to help your cause at all. She did the best thing in that moment by not bringing her kids. And as you can see, attorneys are not necessarily the best person equipped to help you prepare with your letters. As you can see, her attorney told her to put in the letter apologizing for not bringing the kids. And the judge flat out said, you don't need to apologize. I'm not sentencing your kids. I'm sentencing you. Basically, what he's saying is, you to bring your kids and have them go through this. It's almost like, what's wrong with you? Why do you want to put your kids through that kind of torture? It's almost clearly you're using the kids as a tool to try to get some kind of sympathy from the judge. I was guilty of that. I wanted to bring my kids so bad. Like literally, it's all I could think about was like, I needed my kids there. I needed my kids there. And my ex-wife was like, no way in hell are you bringing our children to that courtroom to watch their father get slaughtered or whatever was going to happen. And at the time I was upset, but I was thinking about myself. I wasn't thinking about my children. I wasn't thinking about what kind of effect that could potentially have on them watching me get sentenced. So thankfully my children were not there. And I had the same plea that Gwen had, a cap of 60 months. And just like Gwen, you know, I didn't get as fortunate as Gwen, but instead of getting sentenced to 60 months, I got sentenced to 42 months. So in the end, you know, things went well. But when I got up to do my speech and read my letter, I couldn't even find on the paper where I was supposed to be reading from. I was all over the place. I started getting sniffly. And I realized halfway through my speech that I just need to shut the fuck up, because the judge is probably looking at me like, oh God, here we go again. And I realized that I just was not, unless you give speeches professionally, unless you're a professional actor, or you've done your speech 10 million times and you've done it under scrutiny where people are sitting around, you've really got to be prepared, guys, to give that speech. Because if not, the speech is not going to have the impact that you're hoping. This is not a movie where you're going to give some moving speech and all of a sudden, like, the crowd's going to roar and the judge is going to say probation. No, it's not going to happen. So you got to really, really go in there with the right mindset. So one of the things that Gwen was talking about was just how she felt the judge really viewed her. And it sounds like her sentence could have been a lot worse. Now, you guys also heard her say during her proffer, for those of you that may not necessarily understand what a proffer is if you're early on, but let's say you're deciding to cooperate with the government, but by cooperating means you've got to give them information about yourself. Maybe you're trying to 5K1, you're trying to cooperate, you're telling them about the operation, and telling them about the operation could include other people, but it could also include yourself. So the last thing you want to do is go incriminate yourself any further and potentially make things worse for yourself. So a lot of times what will happen is you'll cooperate under what's called a proffer. And when you're cooperating under a proffer, any information you give them, they can't use that information to fall back on you unless you're not forthcoming and you're not honest during your proffer. Well, during Gwen's proffer, she was not completely honest and she was not completely forthcoming, and they called her out on that. And we saw what happened to Todd Hansen, and she admitted she did not realize that she potentially could have been in as much trouble as Todd was in for not being forthcoming during that proffer. So by her just holding back information and not just letting it all out at that moment really could have changed the outcome. So she's extremely lucky to have received a 28-month sentence, to where that very easily could have gone right back to the 10-year plea that she was originally looking at.
I was going to comment a little bit more, Dan.
Sure.
And another comment that the judge made was that he initially was going to sentence me to 39 months. He chose during the sentencing to change that to 28 months. And it was in part because of what I did after I was originally indicted, things that I had done. It was also because he could tell I was genuinely sorry. And that's where I just want to kind of emphasize again that I thought it was so important, as well as my attorney, to read off of a letter and a script, to get across how sorry I am, and having the sympathy, you know, if you have the tears, that's okay. You can also express your remorse without tears. And again, going back, I would have never read off the script. I would have just, he doesn't need to hear those lines again of that we all say, you know, I am so sorry, and all those different lines. He just needs to genuinely hear you speak. And I just use example when I was watching Todd talk, you could see the genuine remorse in him. He was just talking. And even if it's 30 seconds or a minute, I had done so much ahead of time and sent all those letters that did help me. I believe potentially I could have maybe even got him to go lower. Impact statement that I read, or not read, I just would have talked. And I could have more got across to him what I had come up with to do that I felt would be more beneficial. So I just want to really add that in there. Again, I'm sure every judge is different, but it's so fresh in my mind. And that feeling that I feel right now, I cannot explain to you how freeing it is. And I hope I can express that to you so that you can know that there is an end in sight. And if you're feeling any of the things that I was, you know, the year, months, days leading up to sentencing, you should be excited about, because you will finally actually have an end. And then you'll have, like Dan was kind of talking in one of his other videos, all your obstacles you've got to go through and what the next thing is. But before I was sentenced, I couldn't see anything else except for the sentencing. Okay, Dan.
We actually got a question here, Gwen, from Chris. He's asking, what are some of the things that you did after getting indicted that you feel were action-based things that you were able to present to the judge, either in your letters or through character references, that you feel played a part in maybe getting a reduced sentence?
I'll tell you first the things that the judge pointed out that he felt was really good. One was I did go out and get a job. Luckily, I was actually able to be hired still at a healthcare facility. So that was really beneficial. It showed that I learned from my mistakes. That employer actually did write a letter stating how good of a job I did. So he was impressed with that. That showed I'd learned from my mistakes. The other thing was I actually came up with a PowerPoint presentation on healthcare fraud awareness, why there's a need for education of healthcare fraud. I presented it. He said he was very impressed with the fact that I talked openly to others about my crime, and I wasn't trying to hide from it because I was ashamed of it. He felt that that showed, or the word he used, but basically that I truly, you know, am sorry that I was out there to try and help others. And he didn't see that a lot. He felt in other white collar offenders, the difference, honestly. An offender is an offender. But he really was impressed with the fact that I was trying to so that they come from it. So really the biggest things he was impressed with was, yeah, I'm impressed that I did volunteer at different places. But with the fact that I went out and got another job and had a very positive, and it was only one job over the entire time from 2000 till now, I had one job. And that's another time for another story, because Dan is right. After I had to resign because I actually pled guilty to a healthcare crime, I did the same thing. If I can't find a job, I can't find a job. And I've learned from that too, from your comment, Dan. There's a job if I wanted to go get it. So my advice to everybody is, the more that you can go out to speak to people, talk to them. It is hard to do at times, but for me, I had accepted what I did, and I didn't want to see someone else go through what I've gone through, and educating them from my mistakes, I guess helped I feel better.
Okay. So I think to kind of sum that up a little bit, obviously with her crime in the healthcare field, and I remember you telling me this now when we first spoke. I remember that conversation that you actually brought up with me. You got to remember, guys, if you're in whatever your crime was, if it was an industry crime, if it was a crime by yourself, if you're showing that you're not just sorry for what you did, it's easy to go say, I'm sorry, I'll never do it again. But when you start doing things like what Gwen is doing and what Todd Hansen was doing, when you start getting action based and doing real live things that you can show substance to, she created a PowerPoint presentation on how easy it is to commit healthcare fraud and basically letting other people out there know, because not everybody that was committing a crime, whether it be white collar or non-white collar, while you were doing whatever your crime was, not everybody truly understood the potential repercussions of this could land you in prison. So bringing this light to people, I think, is a huge service. That's a public service that is really needed in not just the healthcare industry. It doesn't matter what your crime was. Guys, I think the number one that needs to have more exposure and more support and more programs like this, like a channel, I really believe is sex offenders. And I know a lot of you have your own opinions on sex offenders, and I'm not here to change your mind. But what I'm saying is, if you think about a sex offender, and I'm not necessarily talking about somebody that's out there kidnapping children or somebody that's going out and meeting, 12-year-old boys or 15-year-old little girls. I'm talking about the guy that's sitting in his house, that's going on the computer, feeling like he's in the security of his own privacy, and he's really in his mind not really doing anything wrong, because he's in his mind, he's not acting on these impulses. He's going online, or she's going online and committing this crime. So at the moment of them doing this, I don't think they really understand how exposed they may be. So my idea and thoughts are, if there was a sex offender that was willing to come on YouTube, make videos, even if they masked their face and they hid their identity, the point is to have the content. Because do you know how many sex offenders, potential sex offenders, people that are out there watching these videos would maybe gravitate towards that YouTube channel of those videos instead of what they're looking at that's causing them to potentially go to prison? Clearly it's an addiction and it's an illness that needs to be addressed. So by us just saying whatever people say, burn them all or all whatever, you're in a glass house throwing stones, and you guys are getting in trouble going to prison. And it's easy to talk about crimes when it's white collar crimes or conspiracy to distribute drugs, because it's not something that is so taboo and so negatively looked at. And I'm not sitting here saying it's okay to be a sex offender, guys. What I'm saying is, if they go into prison with the problem they have now, and there's no support in prison for it, because even the like RDAPs and things like that in prison, they don't know how to address it. They don't know how to talk about it, because it's hard to expose that person, because they know the rest of the compound is really going to be looking at them. So it almost goes undealt with, and then the person gets released, and they're there saying they're never going to do it again, but now they're in front of a computer, and old habits never got dealt with really. So it starts resurfacing, and now you've got a repeat offender who ends up getting in trouble again, and then this cycle keeps happening. So in order to potentially fix these problems, guys, somebody that understands the troubles and the consequences and the addiction and how to deal with it and has learning from it, you have the ability to be an advocator and a mentor to others just like you. I'm not saying go post your name on the internet, because obviously there's always going to be people judging you. And in that industry, judging could turn into, hate mail or whatever it is. And I'm not trying to put anybody in danger, but my God, there's so many people that could use that type of assistance. And, and I'm sure, I get all kinds of walks of life watching my videos. If there is a sex offender that ever watches these videos and wants to be able to give that service back to somebody, I'm sure we can find a way to hide your identity so nobody knows who you are personally. And I don't care if I lose subscribers over it. I don't care if people aren't understanding of it, because that just means you're not being open-minded and you're living in a glass house throwing stones. So I think what you did, Gwen, is amazing, because it's clearly you're doing that out of a spot where you really see a need, and how exposed, you know, how many people I met in prison. I would say one of the number one crimes in prison was some sort of healthcare crime, whether it was what Gwen did, or it was somebody working at a selling pain creams or Medicare fraud. And when you really start talking to them about what the fraud was, it's like, wow, I'm sure that your intentions weren't to like get it this spiraled out of control to where you could land in prison. A lot of people that are in these rooms that are watching these videos did not necessarily know the impact and the potential consequence of the crime that they did at the time of doing it. So I think no matter what your crime was, if people were to know what you did and how you got in trouble and now you're going to prison, I think a lot of people would look at that and really think, oh God, how many times have I done that? You know, I could have gone to prison a million times. There's so many people that are in the business world that commit crimes every day and don't realize that it's an actual crime, because so many people are probably doing it that it's completely been justified. So you really have to like look deep and see what you can do to give back. It's not hard to turn on your webcam and talk a little bit into a camera about what you've done. And I promise you guys, if you make videos over and over and over again, people will come. You know, you just got to put the information out there to find them. I can't thank you enough, Gwen, for sharing that information. I know it's not a huge channel, but I know it's also not easy to go on there and expose yourself. You know, friends, neighbors, potential employers, who knows who sees the videos, and you know, you're potentially judged. You know, you're going to prison, but it takes a lot of courage to come on here and be that person that wants to try to share with the community so people can learn from your own mistakes. So I really appreciate you coming on with us tonight. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So Gwen, do you have any final last words to give the viewers that are watching tonight? Anything, you know, for some of these guys that are, and ladies that are getting ready to go into sentencing, what's something you want to leave them with as they prepare for sentencing? What's the one thing that you wish you had did differently?
One thing I wish I had done differently was listen to you more and reach out to others that have been through it. I think that is the biggest thing, is you do have a lot to offer. And I only got half of from you because I chose to sit back and not try and participate in this. So that's probably my biggest regret, is that, you know, I didn't utilize you more services for those people that can't afford it. Just listening to your channel and group is my support group, and start participating in this, and hopefully, you know, maybe reaching out and talking with others too, because the feeling alone, although I have family to talk to, talk to someone that really gets you, you know, and as much as your family can be there and be supportive and understand, no one can understand that feeling unless you've been through it. So I just hope I've left you guys with, the ones that haven't been sentenced yet, look at it as, be excited about it. This is the biggest job interview I've ever went on, you know, and instead of how good of a pay can I get, it's how low of a sentence can I get. Comes from preparing. Even if you're only a month away, if you can let the judge know that you've talked with others about it, you can get someone to write a letter. Even if they don't write a letter, just you having that in your PSR and showing him that. With my judge, that was huge to him. He really commented on that. Actually talked on it for a minute or two, how impressed he was with that. Because that really showed me owning up to it and wanting to learn from it, as well as wanting to help others. So I guess my final thoughts really are is, I'm just so relieved. I can't even explain the feeling right now. And I shouldn't, because I'm for my family. But just having that weight lifted off is amazing. And you guys will all get there, anyone that's coming up to sentencing.
Awesome. Thank you, Gwen. I really, really appreciate it. And I just realized who you look like. In case anybody, I have to throw this comment in there. If any of you has ever watched this TV show Shameless, I imagine you've gotten this before, unless it's just the angle from the camera. But you look like the mother off of Shameless, who I don't think she's on there anymore. But if any of you watch Shameless, tell me, does she look like the mom from Shameless? But
I've
Gwen,
never watched.
you never watch. You got to go watch it. You look like the mother from Shameless. She just passed away, not in real life, but she passed away on the show. But Gwen, I thank you for joining us. You're always welcome. I hope you're going to hang out in the chat room for a little while and continue chatting with the guys. They've got some questions for you. And Sean, I'll answer your question in a second. Actually, I got one more question for you before you go. Gwen, Kundalini King just asked, how do you feel about the 28 months? And I'll get to your question in a second, Sean.
Maybe in a couple of days I'll feel different, but I'm actually excited. In speaking with my kids and my family, they actually said, go right away. And I was like, oh my Lord, what? Like, you'll be back sooner. I'm looking at this as time to work on myself and honestly getting that obstacle out of the way. Nothing could be worse than the last 3 years I've went through. Because now I know I have an end in sight. So I just wish you guys could feel what I'm feeling right now. I wish you could, so that it would help you get through this time right now. I wish I could have heard someone saying this before I was sentenced. It would have helped me prepare better. Stress, I'm a different person. I mean, I see the sun shining. I want to do things. And yet I know I'm going away for 2 years. Hopefully that helped you.
Yeah, guys, remember the worst part about the entire thing is obviously the not knowing, the anxiety of what's next. Once you get sentenced, you now have a visualization in your mind of where it's going to end. You have an idea. Okay, now I can start planning. 28 months, good time, things like this. RDAP may not be in her future because of her short term, but that she's got the good time. She's got potentially, she can get up to 12 months halfway house. She could be home in, right around a year. It's not that bad. So now when you can think about that, when you can focus on that, because prior to sentencing, you don't know what's going to happen. So there's just an uncertainty of what's next. Even if you know what your plea is going to be, and if you've been told a million times, you're like, what if? What if the judge freaks out? What if something happens? What if they charge me with something different? There's so many of those questions. But once you're sentenced, you are sentenced. It's that easy. Gwen, thank you again. I'm going to go ahead and disconnect you here, Gwen. Guys, if you have any questions for Gwen, she's going to hang out in the chat room, so you can still text with her. But thank you very much, Gwen. You were awesome, and we'll talk to you in the chat room.
All right.
All right, so Gwen is off the air. She should be in the chat room now if she's hanging out there. But let me answer your question real quick, Sean. Sean was asking Gwen why she does not know her destination yet. At least I think that was the question you asked. You got to remember, Sean, and guys, just so you know, I had a couple conversations with Sean, and Sean is a super worrywart when it comes to the destination he's going to go. And partly is because his attorney has given him some screwball information. So let me tell you the screwball information that Sean's attorney gave him. Sean's attorney told him that nobody gets to self-surrender directly to their final destination. Sean's attorney told him that everybody has to self-surrender to the U.S. Marshals in your local area, and then you get transported all over the fucking place until you land where you're going to land. Just to clear the air, that is not the case. 99% of the time, if you're not remanded at sentencing, if you are allowed to self-surrender, you will have the ability to self-surrender to the actual destination. So what happens is, typically, let's say you get, like, for example, Gwen got sentenced yesterday. She more than likely will not know her her prison designation until maybe up to a couple of weeks before she goes. Being her self-surrender date is not until, I think it was June 19th. That's a far, you typically don't see that either. Like, we're in March now. So she's got all of April, all of May. That's 2 months before she's got to self-surrender, 2.5 months. So she'll probably know her prison in the next 30 to 45 days. And you'll get a letter from U.S. Marshals. They'll either come certified, or it'll come to your attorney, or it'll come to your pretrial probation officer. If in the off chance somehow you did not get designated to a prison prior to your surrender date. So let's say your surrender date is, tomorrow, and you do not know where your prison is. At that point, yes, you would turn yourself into the marshals. They bring you into custody because you have to start your sentence, and then you get transferred from there. But that does not typically happen. Most of you will know the prison you're going to, and as long as you have the ability to get to that prison, whether it be driving, plane ticket, bus, whatever it is, if you don't have the ability to get to that prison, then again, yes, you have to turn yourself into the U.S. Marshals. So hopefully, Sean, that helps you a little bit. You don't find out where you're going right away. It's because the BOP is the one that has to find out if they have room, what your classification is. So there's a little bit of work that doesn't even start till after your sentencing. That's why they typically give you, that's the reason, guys, why you get 30, 45, 60 days to self-surrender, because they don't know where you're going to go yet. I did not get my surrender yet, Dan. I believe you, though, Dan. Well, I hope you believe me, Sean. I promise I won't lie to you. Sean, what's your surrender date again, Sean? I think you said it was, is it next month? And I hate the lag on here. I wish it was more real time. And thank you again. Thank you again, Gwen, for coming on and joining us. But yeah, once you get sentenced, man, light and weights and it all just, you see the light, unless the BOP usually sends it like a week or so before you have to surrender. I have a proffer tomorrow. Very nervous. Hey, Mike, what's going on, bud? Do you want to talk at all before you go, like on the phone tonight or in the morning? If you want to give me a call, I'll be up for a while after we're off the air. So May 2nd. So you still got some time, bud. You still got all of April. So you probably won't hear anything until second or third week of April. I found out mine a week before I had to self-surrender, and I was freaking out too, because I didn't know where I was going to go, and I was hoping it wasn't going to be somewhere super far, because I didn't have money for a plane ticket. I would have found it, because I was not going to go self-surrender to the U.S. Marshals. I knew surrendering to the U.S. Marshals means you're going to go sit back in county, and I've been in that county before. I've been in Palm Beach County's jail, and it's not the worst place in the world, but it's not somewhere I want to spend several weeks or several months if I don't have to. I sleep good now that, because you know the end result, Sean. You know what your sentence is. You're counting on things like hopefully you get it to RDAP and halfway house, and you start kind of pre-calculating a little bit, and you can kind of get a rough estimate of how much time you're actually going to do. Todd, he gets sentenced tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern time. So what is that? That's 10 o'clock my time. I should be getting a text message. His wife did not go to his sentencing. Todd didn't want her to go, so she's hanging out back at the house. So as soon as Todd gets sentenced, his attorneys are supposed to text his wife or call his wife and let her know, and then I should be getting a call or a text message after that. And you can be sure that I will let all of you know. I'll probably come on tomorrow night just so you guys know. I'm not going to do a full episode, but we will come on just to give you guys a live update with Todd. I'll also post it. Those of you that are in my text message, if I don't have your phone number and your email, if you want to be added to my subscriber list, not my YouTube subscriber list, but my subscriber list to receive updates, notifications when I'm going to go live, when we start our little blogs and we do our newsletters. If you guys want to be a part of that, just send me your cell phone and an email address. I will have a link up here to create a list for you guys so we can add you to that, so you get automatic updates without me having to even think about it. So yeah, that's some of the stuff that's in the work. But I hope you all are really, really, really keeping Todd in your thoughts. I spoke to Todd for a little bit today. He just got into the hotel, and he decided he was going to go have himself a couple of mojitos. And I cannot blame him. It's got to be, as much as he's trying to keep it together, and he is keeping it together. He's got a great vision and outlook right now, and he's carrying that with him into a potential 17-year sentence. So we are hoping for anything better than 17 is going to be, I'm not going to call it a victory, but it's better than 17 years. I would say anything under 10 years for Todd is a victory, because that can put him into a camp almost immediately. So let's just keep praying for him, and let's hope that that this judge that's notorious for hanging people out to dry, the judge's name is Hang 'em High Hurley. That's the nickname. I mean, the judge's nickname is it's Judge Hurley, who's judges, but his judge's nickname is Hang 'em High Hurley. So let's hope he does not live up to his name on Todd's sentencing. Kevin, yes, I did try to give you a call, but I will give you a call again. And I was not able to call your parents. I was supposed to call them tonight as well, and I forgot about the live shows at around the same time I was supposed to be calling them. So let them know I will reach out to them tomorrow, but I'll call you tonight as well if you like. Sounds like I had a nice 6-hour nap, so maybe you'll be wide awake when we get off the show. And Mike, of course, give me a call if you're going tomorrow for your proffer. But proffers are good things, guys. The thing you want to be very, very self-aware of on the proffer is don't fucking lie. Don't hold back. Tell them everything. Not telling is the same as lying to them. And you do not want to get slaughtered like Todd did. So learn from Todd's mistakes, guys. If you learned anything from Todd, don't let Todd go in vain. Hey, Javier, what's going on, bud? I'm really late, but I just want to say I will pray for Todd tonight, and I wish him the best tomorrow. I'm good. Guys, I talk to a lot of people, clients, subscribers, people that call, and I got to say, my conversations with Javier, I got to tell you, you're probably one of the most genuine people that I've spoken to. No, and I'm not saying anybody else is not genuine, but when I talk to you, Javier, you're so genuine, you're so real. Everything is exposed. There's no bullshit with you. It's exactly how it is, and I really appreciate that. Real talk. Those of you that don't know what real talk is, that's real talk right there. Keeping it 100 all the time. So that's something that people should practice. Look, none of us need to impress anybody. You do not need to impress me. I don't need to impress you. The way we impress each other, guys, is by having some real talk conversation and not holding back punches, not telling each other what we want to hear, but holding each other accountable and saying what needs to be done, what needs to be heard. And I just want to give you props for that, Javier, because you're one of those real dudes, and I know you struggle. You bust your ass. You're working. You're not over there sitting on, you don't have 6 figures sitting in the bank. You're busting your ass to make ends meet. You've got a house full of kids you're taking care of, your own, plus your fiance's who's in prison. So you're doing what you can do, man. You've definitely manned up, and you're taking on the role of a supportive significant other of your fiance, and you're also taking on that father role and letting these kids see what a real man does. So props to you, bud. How do they determine your points? I'm praying for Todd and his family tonight. Thanks, Edward. I know I know that they all appreciate it. Todd definitely, we may hear from him, we may not. I told him to text me tomorrow before he goes in, so I'll let you know. I'll let you know how that goes in. So yeah, guys. I really didn't want to carry this on too long tonight. I just wanted to give you guys, you don't need to fear the judge. Being afraid of the judge, being afraid of the system, being afraid of the prosecutors, that's going to shut you down, and it's not going to allow you to move forward. So you've got to find that balance to where you realize that they want you to be afraid, because they know if they get you with fear, it's like they can poke you with a prod and they can get reactions out of you. The best thing you can do for yourself is you can realize ahead of time what their plan is. These guys are trained. The U.S. attorneys, The DEA, the prosecutors, all of these people are trained assassins. If there's a TV show you guys should watch, it's on Showtime. It might be, you probably stream it somewhere for free, I'm sure, but it's called Billions. Okay, Billions. It's a great show. It's about basically a white collar guy and a U.S. prosecutor, and the white collar guy owns a large investment firm, and the U.S. prosecutor is the U.S. attorney, and he's trying to move up the ranks as well. And it shows how these guys battle it out. And for those of you that are going through this, you're going to find a lot of relation going, fuck, this is how it really is. You're going to see how the U.S. attorney's office and the prosecutors play their nasty little games and how they try to trip you up and create stuff. They don't care what you're doing right. They just want to take down a giant because it puts one more notch on their belt. So if you have the opportunity to watch that show, and I think it's educational I like it for the real of it, for what I went through, and it's just like, wow, you can really relate to that. It seems like they put a lot of effort into creating a realistic storyboard, and it's amazing. Can't think of the actors' names, but they're two people, you're going to recognize them all. So guys, you have to do your homework. All too often, I'll hear statements just like what Gwen said. Gwen wishes she had reached out more, wishes she had got more engaged in the videos, wishes she had put more effort into her letters, wish she had watched the video on what to say during your allocation. And these are things that, she didn't quite prepare for, and she still got a fairly decent plea offer. Like she said, she feels like she could have gotten even a better plea if she was actually prepared. Guys, if you prepare for this like you're preparing for anything else, if you want something in life, you got to prepare. You got to prepare for this like you're preparing for an event. If you're an athlete and you're preparing for something, you don't just show up the day of and expect to perform at your best. If you don't prepare and you don't exercise and you don't take steps and you don't do some research, you're going to show up and you're going to flail. This is a big fucking day. And too many people put way too much hope and way too much thought into, oh, my attorney's going to do this, or this is going to happen. I'm just going to show up and go through it. If you want to show up and have that dumbfounded look on your face and not know what's going on, go ahead and be that guy. But if you want to have a fighting chance, you want to stand out, I'm telling you guys, all of my clients that follow simple instructions and take good advice all get the same statements back to them from prosecutors, from the U.S. probation, from their attorneys. When you hear a U.S. probation officer tell you, wow, you are really prepared, I do not see this. You've taken them out of their element, and you've now put them on reserve a little bit to where they're not going to come at you anyway because they know you know your shit. They're not going to try to pull some wool over you. They're not going to try to trip you up. They're not going to tell you something expecting you just to believe it. Guys, question everything. Question the shit out of your attorneys. Don't feel like you're bothering your attorney. If you've got a question about something, call your attorney. And if he doesn't answer the phone, call him back. And if he doesn't give you the answer you want, or you hang up and you go, oh, I wish I would have asked this, call him back and ask him again. These attorneys make good money, regardless whether you're paying them or as a federally appointed attorney, they're getting paid to do this. So if you don't hold your attorney accountable and make him bust his ass for you, when you're getting filleted at sentencing and later on I'm going to go file a rule, I'm going to ineffective counsel. My attorney didn't do his job. You didn't do your job. It's your job to make him work. If you're not going to work your attorney, he's not going to work. He's just going to skate by, give you some bullshit plea, say this is great, see you at sentencing, and then he's done with you. Washed his hands, boom, gone. Bust his balls, hers. Do what you got to do. This is your life. You're the one going to federal prison. Pick up your phone, call me. We can find a way to help you guys with these letters. We can find a way to help you guys qualify for RDAP. Being prepared for that freaking day of your PSR interview, being prepared for that, and not just being prepared knowing what they're going to ask you, but being prepared with how you're going to react, how you're going to stand, how you're going to sit, how you're going to talk, keep eye contact. All of these things are super important because make a statement with them, they will remember you. Make a fucked up statement with them, they will remember that too, and that goes a long way. That's why it's so important to know exactly what you're trying to achieve. If you don't know what your end result is, if you don't know what you want your end result to be, and you don't have a goal in mind, what are you expecting to happen? You don't know? Well, now you know. So Let's see, did I miss any crazy questions in here? Don't show fear. Don't show fear. It's correct, El Gordo. Show respect, but more importantly, show that you've done your homework. Show that you're prepared. Show that you're educated in where you're going. Ask them questions. Do you need to know this? Would you like this? I've prepared this. Will this help you? I've got my personal narrative here, which explains everything from me taking accountability to how I got into this to why I did it. Is this something that you would like to put into the PSR, Mr. Probation Officer? And you'll get a look from him going, really? You've got that prepared? Yeah, my attorney's prepared to email it to you right now. I'd really like you to add this to the PSR. I understand the prosecution might want to know some information because I am trying to get a better plea. And I feel like the more information that the U.S. prosecutor knows about me, the better informed decision they can make. So yeah, I want this entered into here. Is that possible? Be assertive. Don't be aggressive. Don't be passive aggressive. Be assertive. And if you don't know the difference between passive aggressive, and assertive, Google it, look it up, because people are passive aggressive all the time and they're afraid just to ask point blank. Ask the question. Ask it. Don't be afraid. The wrong question is the one that's not asked. The wrong question is the one you walk out of the interview going, fuck, I wish I had said this. Don't be that guy. Bring in a notepad. Have your questions. No one's expecting you to remember everything, but I'm telling you guys, I see potential in people and I see what they can do, but I see them freeze up when it comes down to shine. Nobody likes change. Nobody likes to make themselves feel uncomfortable. And if you're comfortable right now, if you're comfortable letting your attorney drive your car and you're comfortable letting him steer you wherever he wants to take you, you might get in a car accident or you might end up at the wrong stop. Take charge of your life. If you don't do it, no one else is going to do it. I can help you. I can prepare you. I can give you all the tools in the world. But if you don't understand it, you don't use them, you don't take advice, and you don't ask me questions, everything that I do for you is pointless, because you have to be willing to act. And those of you that have hired me to do your letters, you realize that it's not a walk in the park, that I'm not just going to take some BS letter that you or your family member threw together, especially when those of you that are using kids to write your letters. Kids of age that can write, 12, 13, 14 years old letter. Great person to pick for a letter, but we all understand children. Children do not want to say anything bad about a parent. They don't want to say how this has hurt them because they feel like it's going to hurt you. So when I get these letters and I read them from kids and it's not really what I need, I go back to you and say, hey, you want me to tell your kid what to write? I'll get on the phone and tell them. And I've done that with a couple of kids. I'm not mean to them, but I'm assertive, saying, look, you want to help your dad, you want to help your mom, you need to tell me how this has made you feel. Are you happy your dad's going to prison? No. Does it hurt your feelings that your dad is going to prison? Yeah. Do you think this is affecting you in school? Is this affecting how you sleep? Well, yeah. You give them some ideas of what to write about, and before you know it, this kid's like, man, you really kind of messed up my life, mom or dad. And this is how it's made me feel. That is such a healthy conversation. It's letting the cat out of the bag. It's getting all of that negativity and that pus, and you're popping that pimple, and now healing can start. I promise you, at some point, your child will process, and it's either going to be with you or without you, and you're either going to understand it and see it coming, or you're not. So you're either a part of the problem, guys, or you're part of the solution. You get to pick which one you are. But sticking your head in the sand and not focusing on what's going on your surroundings, and not putting effort in until the last minute, thinking you're going to scramble and throw a Hail Mary pass, don't do it. You have time. Focus, practice, educate yourselves. Is Todd in the room? Yeah, guys, I'll make sure. I thought Todd was in the room. I will make sure that all of you, anybody, once Todd gets situated where he's going to be at, guys, and he reaches out to me and I have his information, I will then send him anybody that wants to email. Trust me, Todd, if I get 5 million people that want to email with Todd, he will accept 5 million people. I will make sure I send him your emails and all of that stuff once I know where he's at. I'll get everybody's information together, and I will send him one email with an updated list, and then he can add everybody. And I think that would be Awesome. And for anybody else that's getting ready to go in that also wants to keep communication with, especially the community and keep the vibe going, guys, Todd's not the only one. Todd's a very unique client because, I've seen this guy from not taking responsibility to like the complete opposite. And originally he did it just because he thought it would help his situation, which is fine if that was his original intent. But that has changed, and Todd has become a different person. Todd is humbled. He's extremely motivated to do the right thing, regardless of what the outcome is. So that's where you want to get in your life, is you want to be willing to do the right thing, regardless of what might happen to you. Once you reach that point in your life, good things will happen to you. Even if he serves 17 years, if he keeps that frame of mind going, good things will happen for him in prison because he's going to be able to reach a lot of people, and he'll be able to learn from a lot of people. So we're going to see some interesting stuff from Todd. I promise you guys that. You cannot email each other, no, unless you get approval. And they typically will not approve just random people to email each other. So no, you have to email me, and I can kind of, communicate that back and forth. But yeah, it's kind of a bummer. You can only, like, even when me and Shelly were in, they wouldn't let us communicate by email, even though we were co-conspirators, we lived together, we cohabitated. They wouldn't allow us to email each other within the prison system, so it's frustrating. Anyone wants to write him, you can't. You can. You can write letters back and forth. Just you won't be able to email when both of you are in prison. That won't be able to go. But you can email me, and I can pass messages along, let them know what people are doing. Typically, what I'll probably do is once a week, I'll take information from you guys, from your comments and stuff, and I'll put it into an email and fire it off to them. That's what I do for some other clients, is email them once a week. I try to email most of my clients once a week about what's going on. Sometimes, for some reason, my clients don't get my email. Sometimes they do. We got a message retracted. What did you say, bless the mess, that you felt like you had to recheck? Agordo has to be approved. Yes, you have to be approved to be able to email in or out. Sounds good, Javier. We do. We got to get updates on what's going on with your letters, my man. Your mom and you are, waiting on those letters. So, but you know what? I know you're busy, bud. And I know you have crazy hours going on there. So I'm not pressing you. We still got time. So I want you to make sure they're proper and correct. If you're out of prison, yes, then you can create your Gmail. Make sure you let your probation officer know that you're talking to a felon. Probation could have an issue with it, but I tell my probation officer everything I do. He's open book policy, open door policy, and that way there's no surprises. They don't want you to do something, they can tell you before it gets out of hand. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to wrap this up. I've got to go take care of a few things. My dogs need belly scratches, and I need to put food in my belly. So unless you guys have any other last-minute questions for me, I hope you realize there's no need to fear the judge. You must respect it and respect what you need to know. Do your homework. Get prepared. Don't show up unprepared, because then it's going to show and you're not going to have an outcome that you're looking for. Get that positive outcome, guys. Putting in the time and effort is going to make you feel better. Even if your sentence is the same, practicing and educating yourselves, you will definitely feel better. The reason I don't know where I'm going is, although I requested a place, they said they would send me. Right, so you're just waiting on your letter. So yeah, those letters come. All right, everybody. I will let you guys know tomorrow what's going on with Todd Hansen. Until then, make sure, guys, you are growing this channel with me. Send it out to your friends and family. Let them know, hey, subscribe, beg them, twist their arm, tell them it's not hard to subscribe. Share the videos, like the videos, all that stuff. And guys, we're growing. And we've got some really cool things that are coming here in probably the next week or so, with some great services that are completely, they're relative, but they're not relative at the same time, because a lot of you getting out of prison need some different assistance. So I can't wait to be able to offer that to you guys in about a week. So look forward to talking to you guys. I'll see you guys tomorrow for a few minutes, and then Saturday. Don't forget Saturday, We're going to be on Saturday, 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern, and what is that, 3 p.m. Central? I'm getting to know the time zones. All right, guys, RDAP Dan, love you all. Community is method. Peace.